There's a house on the edge of town that people pass every day without a second glance. White paint chipped along the porch, blinds always drawn, the faint sound of a dog barking behind the fence. To everyone driving by, it's just another house in suburban Ohio, quiet, normal, unremarkable. But inside that house, Sarah Reed hadn't seen sunlight for nearly 2 years. Sarah used to be the kind of woman who filled a room with light. She was 29, worked at a local bookstore, and could quote lines from every Jane Austen novel. She had dreams, small ones, tender ones, of opening her own cafe, adopting a cat, maybe traveling to Paris one day. Then she met Luke, a charming contractor with a deep laugh and the kind of confidence that made people listen when he spoke. He swept her off her feet. Everyone said they were perfect together. When they got married 6 months later, no one questioned it. Luke was devoted. He showed up at her work, brought her lunch, called her just to say he missed her. At first, it felt like love. Then it became control. It started with little things, comments about her friends, about what she wore. Then he began showing up everywhere she went, asking where she'd been, who she'd talked to, why she didn't answer his calls fast enough. When she tried to laugh it off, he smiled and said, "You're lucky I care so much." The first time he hit her, he cried afterward. He said he'd been stressed, that he loved her, that it would never happen again. Sarah wanted to believe him. She always wanted to believe him. But love doesn't live long in a house built on fear. As months passed, Luke's apologies grew shorter and his anger longer. He stopped letting her go to work, stopped letting her talk to her family. He installed locks on the outside of the bedroom door. That's how the room began what he called their space. But Sarah knew what it really was, a prison. No windows, one dim bulb that flickered at night, a mattress, a small dresser, and a single door that only opened when Luke decided she'd been good enough. He told her the world outside was dangerous, that her family didn't want her anymore, that no one would believe her if she ran. And when she cried, he'd whisper, "You made me this way." Days blurred together. Sometimes she lost track of what month it was. Luke would come home from work still wearing his charming smile for the neighbors and bring her food, books, sometimes flowers, like a man courting a ghost. He'd sit beside her and talk as if everything were normal, as if she weren't locked in a world he controlled entirely. One night, she woke to silence. The bulb above her bed had gone out. In the dark, Sarah felt the walls closing in. She pressed her hand against the cold door, whispering to herself, "You're still here. You're still real." And that's when she decided she wouldn't die in this room. Weeks passed before her chance came. Luke forgot his phone one morning, left it charging on the small table near the door. When he brought her food later, she noticed something. The key was still in the lock. He'd been distracted, angry about something at work. She waited until she heard the truck pull away, the sound of gravel under tires fading into distance. Her heart pounded as she turned the key. The door creaked open. The hallway looked the same, tidy, quiet, like a home frozen in time. She moved quickly, barefoot, careful not to make a sound. Down the stairs, through the kitchen. Every step felt like stepping through years of fear. But just as she reached the back door, the phone on the counter buzzed. His name lit up the screen. Luke. She froze. The call went to voicemail. Then it buzzed again. Again. The sound tore through the silence. Finally, she yanked the phone's cord from the wall and ran. When she burst through the back door, the sunlight hit her face for the first time in nearly 700 days. Her knees buckled on the grass. The wind felt like fire on her skin. For a moment, she just cried, not from sadness, but from shock. She was free. She ran barefoot through the neighborhood, knocking on doors, screaming for help. The first house didn't open. The second did. An older woman, Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who'd waved at Luke every morning, stared in horror as Sarah collapsed on her porch, trembling, whispering, "Please." He locked me in. The police came within minutes. They found the room exactly as she'd left it. No windows, a lock on the outside, the walls marked where she'd clawed and written notes to herself in pencil. The officers stood in silence. They said later it was one of the worst cases they'd seen in decades. Luke was arrested that night. The neighborhood watched as the perfect husband was led away in handcuffs, still wearing his calm, practiced smile. It took months for Sarah to speak publicly. She joined a survivors group, started therapy, and began sharing her story quietly at first, then to schools, then on podcasts. She became a voice for others who'd been trapped in rooms of silence and fear. 1 year later, she returned to that house for the first time. The locks were gone. The room had been repainted bright and open. The new owners had put up lace curtains and a small plant by the window Luke had once sealed shut. Sarah stood there for a long time. Then she whispered, "I'm not afraid anymore." And in that moment, the room that once stole her life became the symbol of the life she took back.